Did you know cancer thrives in an acidic environment? Here's the truth behind that claim, and the 8 foods you should limit to stay healthy. Have you ever heard the claim that cancer loves an acidic environment? It might sound strange or even like some online myth, but according to years of research and the experience of leading natural health experts, this idea is grounded in real science. Today, we'll learn from Dr. Karen Blake, a world-renowned natural health advocate, as she shares 8 highly acidic foods you should limit or avoid altogether if you want to create a healthier internal environment that helps your body fight disease naturally, especially cancer. Why is pH balance in the body so important? Dr. Blake explains that the pH level of your body plays a critical role in determining whether or not disease can thrive. Our blood normally maintains a slightly alkaline pH between 7.35 and 7.4, an optimal state for life. But when the environment inside our cells drops to around 5.5 on the pH scale, making it more acidic, it becomes a breeding ground for harmful organisms like yeast, pathogenic bacteria, and yes, cancer. Cancer thrives in acidic, low-oxygen, sugar-rich environments. That's why when people come to Dr. Blake for cancer support, she recommends 3 key dietary strategies: a highly alkalizing diet, boosting oxygen levels in the body, and drastically cutting sugar intake. So let's dive into the list of 8 silent culprits, acid-forming foods that you should know about and consider avoiding. First, what does acidic food actually mean? When people hear acidic food, they might think of sour-tasting things like lemons or vinegar. But the truth is, those are actually alkalizing once metabolized in the body. Acid-forming foods, on the other hand, don't necessarily taste acidic. They're foods that during digestion produce acidic byproducts, often due to their high levels of phosphorus, sulfur, or chlorine. These acidic residues put stress on the body's pH balancing system. Red and processed meats, the E. First and most common acidic food is meat, especially red meat and processed varieties. Why? Because meat contains high levels of protein and phosphorus, both of which increase acidity during digestion. In fact, Dr. Colin Marston, a leading researcher in the Global Nutrition Study, discovered he could switch cancer cell growth on or off in lab mice simply by adjusting the amount of meat and dairy in their diet. That's chilling, isn't it? Genetically modified wheat is a staple in many people's diets: bread, cereal, pasta, crackers, pizza. But it's not the ancient wheat that's the problem. It's today's genetically altered wheat that causes concern. Ancient wheat had a simpler protein structure, making it easier to digest. But thousands of years ago, it was hybridized with a wild grass to produce a species called emmer. Then in the 1950s, scientists crossbred it further to create the modern, high-yield wheat we eat today. The result? A super complex form of gluten that many digestive systems can't handle. For most people, this leads to bloating, brain fog, fatigue, and symptoms of gluten intolerance. Caffeine. Do you start your mornings with a cup of coffee? Most people do, and often more than one. But caffeine, whether in coffee, energy drinks, or black tea, is a major acid-forming substance. When we consume too many acidic items like meat, caffeine, and processed foods, our bodies have to pull alkalizing minerals like calcium, potassium, magnesium, and sodium from our bones and tissues just to neutralize the acid. The result? Mineral depletion, imbalanced pH, and increased risk of chronic disease. And remember soda? A can of cola has a pH of about 2.6, extremely acidic. It not only contains caffeine, but it's also packed with sugar, a dangerous double blow to your body's balance. Refined sugar. Here's one that might surprise you. Sugar has a neutral pH of around 7, so it doesn't seem harmful at first glance. But once your body starts metabolizing it, especially in the liver, it creates acidic byproducts like lactic acid and acetic acid. That's not all. Sugar consumption depletes the body's stores of key alkaline minerals like calcium, magnesium, and potassium. It also spikes insulin, which causes these minerals to be flushed out in the urine. The result is a perfect acidic storm in your body. Plus, sugar feeds harmful gut bacteria, which further throws off your internal microbiome, ramps up inflammation, and lowers your immune defenses. So far, we've looked at red meat, hybrid wheat, caffeine, and sugar, 4 things that are everywhere in modern American diets. But these are also the very items we need to evaluate, limit, and replace if we want to protect our health. And we're only halfway through the list. 5. Aged cheeses. Now here's one that might catch you off guard. Aged cheeses. Think blue cheese, cheddar or Parmesan, known for their strong flavor and gourmet appeal. But from a health perspective, especially when it comes to acidity, they're anything but refined. The blue veins in blue cheese? That's mold, intentionally added bacteria during the fermentation process. That's what makes aged cheeses highly acidic. In contrast, fresh cheeses like ricotta or cottage cheese are closer to neutral on the pH scale. However, they still aren't necessarily healthy. Why? Because most dairy products today come from cows raised with growth hormones and exposed to chemical additives. Overall, dairy is acid-forming due to its high protein and phosphorus content. During digestion, it produces acidic compounds that your body must neutralize, placing extra stress on your kidneys, liver, and entire pH regulatory system. For instance, whole milk is mildly acidic. Cheese ranges from moderately to extremely acidic. Yogurt depends on sugar content. Some are mildly acidic, others much more so. If you love cheese, it's time to rethink your habits. Consider cutting back or swapping in plant-based protein sources instead. Alcohol isn't food per se, but it still significantly affects your body's pH. When alcohol enters your system, your liver breaks it down into acetaldehyde, a neurotoxin. Yes, you read that right. Acetaldehyde is toxic to your brain. That foggy feeling, fatigue, or memory lapse after drinking, that's your body reacting to this toxin. Worse, acetaldehyde increases acidity in your system, weakens your immune response, and opens the door for illness. The more you drink, the more overloaded your liver becomes, making it harder for your body to detox and maintain balance. Tobacco? Here's another one that isn't technically food, but has a powerful impact on your pH. Smoking introduces hundreds of harmful chemicals into your body, creating a superacidic internal environment. Your lungs and bloodstream have to process an onslaught of oxidants and free radicals, which forces your body to pull alkalizing minerals from wherever it can. Your bones, your cells, your tissues. That's why smokers often develop osteoporosis, have weakened immune systems, and suffer from chronic diseases. Their bodies are locked in a constant battle against internal acidity. And secondhand smoke? It's just as dangerous, if not more so, because there's no cigarette filter protecting bystanders from the toxins. Acidic grains, beans, and seeds. This one might sound strange because we often think of whole grains, legumes, and seeds as healthy, but not all of them are alkalizing. Here are some examples. White rice, rolled oats, and corn are acid-forming. Black beans, red beans, and peas also produce acid in digestion. Cashews, peanuts, and sunflower seeds? Acidic as well. So does that mean you have to cut them out entirely? Thankfully, no. And that's the good news. It's not about elimination, it's about balance. Dr. Blake emphasizes that the human body is brilliantly designed to self-regulate pH. But when we overload it with acidic foods, it has to borrow alkaline minerals from bones, tissues, and organs to neutralize the acid. That's when problems begin. The key is balance, not perfection. The golden ratio? Aim for 70–80% alkalizing foods and 20–30% acid-forming foods. And if you do eat acidic foods, choose the less harmful ones. Whole grains like quinoa or brown rice. Healthy legumes like lentils and soybeans. Alkaline nuts and seeds like almonds. And Brazil nuts, avoid the more damaging ones like red meat, processed foods, refined sugar, alcohol, and excess caffeine. So how do you start? How can you make this shift without feeling deprived? Here are a few easy, practical tips to get started today. Begin your morning with warm water and fresh lemon juice. Despite its sour taste, lemon is one of the most alkalizing foods once metabolized. Add more greens to every meal. Focus on kale, spinach, and Swiss chard, all powerful alkalizers. Try going plant-based 1 or 2 days a week. You don't have to go full vegan. Just taking a break from animal products a couple of times a week makes a difference. Choose healthy fats over animal fats. Think avocado, extra virgin olive oil, and chia seeds. They reduce inflammation and support better balance. Small steps, big impact. Your body and your long-term health will thank you.